Welcome to Pinnacle's NFL Best Bets for Week 18. I'm Anthony Bruno, joined by Scott Cullen on behalf of Pinnacle, your trusted sportsbook for over 25 years, offering the best odds and best payouts, especially on the Week 18 NFL slate. This is always one of the craziest weeks of the year because it's a very news-driven week. You got to parse through all the information to see who's playing, who's not playing, how long certain starters are going to play. Who has incentive to play based on the playoff picture right now. So we will parse through all of that. But first I want to mention Scott is on fire. 7 wins and a push in his last 8 best bets on this show. So Scott, let's keep things rolling. What is your first best bet on the Week 18 slate?
Well, your point, Anthony, about this week being it's difficult to gauge what games matter for teams. So I try and focus my bets on teams that have incentive to win. And so my first best bet is the Cincinnati Bengals on the money line at Pittsburgh. Minus 132 right now. They were minus 120 earlier in the week. And look, the Bengals have won 4 straight games to keep their playoff hopes alive. And they still need to win if they're going to have any hope. Like, they still may not reach the playoffs, but if they win on Saturday, that at least keeps hope alive, waiting for results on Sunday. And so they have full incentive to win. They have a 7-4 record with T. Higgins in the lineup. We've gone back to that well several times during the season because the Bengals with Higgins in the lineup are a potent team. Not only are they 7-4, in the 4 losses, they've scored at least 27 points. So that offense can move the ball when Higgins is there. And I think the Steelers are just going to have a hard time keeping pace.
Yeah, I think the Bengals are going to win this game as well. This offense has been rolling. Joe Burrow is absolutely dialed in. The only problem is I don't think the Bengals are going to make the playoffs because it seems like the Broncos are going to take care of business as massive favorites against Carson Wentz and the Chiefs this week. But I do like the Bengals to get the job done on Saturday. All right, so for my first best bet, most of this year, our producer Ben has joked that this has been a Commanders show. And I am rolling with the Commanders once again. Minus 5.5, minus 122 at the Dallas Cowboys. Most of the market is still at 6.5 in this game. Pinnacle is at minus 5.5, minus 122. There are a lot of games that don't matter this week. But this one does matters for the Commanders. At least I think they have an incentive to win in this game to avoid a first-round matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles. Because if the Commanders win this game, they will finish as the 6th seed in the NFC, and that'll set up a game against either the Rams or the Bucs. The Dallas Cowboys have nothing to play for in this game. Their quarterback situation is still up in the air. Mike McCarthy, at the time of recording, still has not committed to whether it's going to be Cooper Rush starting this game, whether he's going to use both quarterbacks, use Cooper Rush and Trey Lance in this game. So that remains to be seen. The other thing, CeeDee Lamb is on IR with a shoulder injury, and the Cowboys offense was a complete disaster without him last week against the Eagles, losing 41-7. I think they're going to have problems moving the football, especially through the air. And listen, the Commanders' defense is not good, but CeeDee Lamb is the best player on this Cowboys team. And without him, like I said, last week, they looked like a complete mess. Jaden Daniels, he has been on fire to close out the season. The Commanders have won 4 straight games. I think they're going to make a statement in this game and cover the 5.5 points.
Yeah, the Cowboys, we've gone back to that well several times this year too, is that they've just been a mess. And the one thing that's kind of saved them from time to time is that they have some really high-end talent. And when you take out somebody like CeeDee Lamb, well, now you're looking at an offense that really doesn't have high-end talent. And it's really tough for them to match up with the Commanders. And as you say, the Commanders have incentive to win this game. The Cowboys surely don't. But the way the Cowboys season has gone, you could see them shooting themselves in the foot by trying to win this game. And so I think there's absolutely no reason to expect Dallas to be close in this game. And, obviously take Washington and run.
Yeah, I'm banking on the Cowboys packing it in for the season in this game. All right, Scott, what is your second best bet on the slate?
All right, my second best bet on the slate, and this is the first time I've done this all year, is I'm going for a team total on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over 28.5. You look at the total against New Orleans was 43.5, and that was kind of my first inclination was to just go on the over in that game. But I keep looking at this New Orleans offense with Spencer Rattler at quarterback. I'm not sure they're going to score enough to kind of do their part to push this to the over. And then I look at that Tampa Bay offense, and they're cooking, right? We've talked many times this season about Baker Mayfield, and he's having a great season, has 39 touchdown passes. And on top of that, it's not even the passing game that should make the huge difference here for Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's running game is in the top 5 in the EPA rush per play, and they're going against a New Orleans defense that is terrible against the run, bottom 3 in EPA rush per play against. And so you can see Baker leading the Bucs to an early lead, and then them just grinding out yards on the ground and continuing to torment the Saints. And so I'm going 28.5 over for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against New Orleans.
Yeah, I would be stunned if the Bucs aren't able to move the ball up and down the field at will in this game, honestly. You know, it's another spot where the Saints have absolutely nothing to play for. The Bucs have everything to play for. Obviously, if they win this game, they're going to win the NFC South. They're going to clinch a playoff spot. Baker Mayfield has been awesome this season, having his best year in the NFL. And this actually leads into my next best bet, because all eyes are on Mike Evans. We all know, okay? I think throughout the whole week, there's been so much Mike Evans talk. He needs 85 yards to finish with 1,000-plus receiving yards for the 11th straight season. Obviously, Baker Mayfield is probably going to do everything in his power to get him to 1,000 yards and feed the ball to him. But I think that's going to open some things up for Jalen McMillan, who has been on fire. And I like him to score a touchdown at plus 220. This, at the time of recording, is easily the best price in market. I have seen this as low as plus 120, plus 138, plus 150. Pinnacle for a Jalen McMillan anytime touchdown, plus 220 right now. He has 4 straight games with a touchdown, 6 touchdowns over his last 4 games. He has clearly emerged as the number 2 target behind Mike Evans in this offense, and he actually leads the Bucs in red zone targets over the last 4 weeks with 5. So that price is too good to pass up for a player who is on fire right now and who the Bucs are feeding the ball in the red area. So give me Jalen McMillan anytime touchdown, plus 220.
You see, and that's one of the interesting things about playing the prop market, is because there can be a wider variance in the price. You know, the variance in price on point spreads and totals is not necessarily going to be as large as you're going to find it when it's on a player prop. And, you know, that you can find Jalen McMillan at plus 120 to score a touchdown in some sports books, and we're offering at plus 220 at Pinnacle. I mean, that's a massive difference. And so whether you can get him at plus 220 is that's obviously great value. But the points that you're making, Anthony, about how much his usage is up in the red zone, and it makes him a real legitimate threat to score against New Orleans. And this is a game that I'm expecting them to score a lot. So let's hope he plays his part.
All right, let's move on to the biggest game on the slate, one of the biggest games of the year. The Minnesota Vikings on the road against the Detroit Lions, both teams sitting at 14-2. The winner of this game will finish first in the NFC, clinch a first-round bye, and the loser is going to fall into the 5 seed in the NFC, which is just crazy to think about. I know where I'm going in this game, but Scott, I'm going to start things off with you. Vikings at Lions. Who do you like to win this game?
You know, it's funny as we sit here in week 18, and we've had some teams that we kind of keep going back to week after week, and the Vikings have been one of those teams, and it's worked out reasonably well. You know, they've won 9 straight. I don't think anybody coming into the season was expecting a 14-2 record going into the last week. They have, you know, exceeded expectations across the board. And if I have to pick this week, I like the Lions, I like the Vikings plus the points. Now, at the start of the week, it was plus 3, and so I would certainly like that. It has moved down to plus 2.5 now at Pinnacle. But, you know, given the choice here, I think it's going to be a, you know, close and competitive game between 2 of the best teams in the league. And it's probably a coin flip kind of game, so I'll take the team that's getting points, and you know, the team that's getting points and has won 9 in a row. I like the Vikings' chances.
I like the Vikings in this spot as well, and I still think that there's pretty solid value on them on the money line right now. I am going to be taking the Vikings on the money line at plus 134 at Pinnacle. I think this game should be a little bit closer to a coin flip, especially considering the Lions' defense right now. Listen, they are getting healthier. Like, it looks like Alex Anzalone is going to be back in this game. But overall, this defense is still decimated by injuries. And now they're on a short week after Dan Campbell decided to play all of his starters on Monday Night Football last week on both sides of the ball in their win over the 49ers. I still have no idea why they did that, because that game meant absolutely nothing to the Lions. Like, there were multiple moments in that game where I thought, like, Sam Laporta had gotten injured. Amon-Ra St. Brown was limping at one point. I'm like, oh my God, Dan Campbell, what the hell are you doing? Now, it seems like they got out of that game unscathed, and this is obviously the biggest game of the year. So we'll see how that pans out against a Vikings team that, you know, their defense has been amazing all year. First in EPA per play, second in success rate. I still think the Lions are going to score points. They have an elite offense. The problem is their defense has been getting absolutely torched. Okay, so over the last 4 weeks, the Lions defense is dead last in EPA per play, 30th in success rate, and giving up 32.5 points per game. This Vikings offense, again, not that it's the greatest offense in football, but Sam Darnold and that passing attack have been absolutely dialed in. Over the last 7 games, Darnold, 18 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. I mean, I think points are going to be scored like crazy in this game. I believe the total at the time of recording is sitting at 56. I just think it should be closer to a coin flip. I like the Vikings on the money line, plus 134.
You know, and when you look at the trouble that the Lions defense had with San Francisco, like that Brock Purdy was, you know, having the game that he was having, you know, at the start of the year, that would have been reasonable expectation. But given, you know, how this season has gone for San Francisco and how decimated their lineup is, to have, you know, Purdy marching the ball up and down the field, you would have to look at that and go, this is not a great indication for that Lions defense. And so this just, you know, furthers your point here, Anthony, is that, you know, given the choice, you would certainly take the Vikings offense right now because they're a much more potent group. And so, yeah, this gives a real chance for them to win on the road in what should be a fantastic game.
All right, so we're both on the Vikings in what might be the game of the year. That is going to do it for our Week 18 best bets. Like I say every single week, whether you're betting on main markets, player props, Super Bowl futures, make sure you are checking out Pinnacle Sportsbook, because Pinnacle offers the best odds and the best payouts across the entire industry. We will be back next week for our Wild Card Weekend playoff show. We'll go over all of our best bets for Wild Card Weekend. But until then, enjoy what is usually a crazy Week 18 in the NFL. Best of luck with all your bets. And remember to bet smart and bet Pinnacle.